Dust rises from the orange track as runners sprint under the morning sun. Xue Jing crosses the finish line with a time of 2 minutes and 36 seconds, drawing loud cheers from the students in the stands. Many of them call out Senior Xue Jing, while several girls admire him openly. One girl approaches with a towel and water, and he politely thanks her after accepting them. As he wipes his face, a translucent system panel appears before him. It reports that his running experience has increased by 20 points, raising his running skill to level 3. Another notification shows his charm increasing by 45 points because of the attention from the crowd. Xue Jing considers charm an unimportant stat and ignores it. Suddenly, a ball flies toward him from across the field, but he calmly catches it. His friend Li Ge runs over and nervously explains that the person responsible is Pei Yuguang, a student known for causing trouble at school. Li Ge suspects the conflict may be related to the attention Xue Jing receives from female students and suggests that accepting one of them might reduce the jealousy around him. Xue Jing simply replies that he has no interest. Despite Li Ge warning him not to provoke Pei Yuguang, Xue Jing walks away, saying he only plans to continue training. As he leaves the track, he reflects on how he arrived in this world 1 month earlier. The world is similar to Earth, but not exactly the same. Along with him came a mysterious system panel that rewards effort with measurable progress. Because of this system, he believes that consistent work will always lead to improvement. Back in his room, Xue Jing continues training. Through repeated exercise, his strength, agility, and constitution slowly increase. While practicing with a dart, he throws it directly into the center of a target. The system responds by activating a new skill called aiming at level 1. However, intense training consumes a lot of energy, and when he checks his refrigerator, he finds it empty. Xue Jing lives in the 5th metropolitan circle, the outermost and poorest district of a city divided into several rings. The closer someone lives to the center, the greater their wealth and opportunities. With only half a year left before graduation, he knows that his future depends on whether he can move toward the inner circles. Later, he visits a convenience store to buy food. When the cashier announces the total of 210, he realizes he cannot afford everything and leaves behind several items, including milk and vegetables. While walking through a trash-filled alley, he hears a quiet sound and discovers an injured black stray cat. The cat has a metallic golden band around its tail. At first, he assumes the animal simply lost a fight with another stray, but then the cat unexpectedly speaks, complaining about how harsh life is for stray cats. Surprised, Xue Jing touches the golden band on the cat's tail. His system immediately reacts, detecting a divine substance and beginning to absorb it. This reminds him of the history of the world. The planet is called Earth Star, and centuries earlier, people across the world witnessed an extraordinary event. A massive radiant being appeared in the sky and later dissolved into countless particles of light. Since that moment, humanity has believed that the era of gods ended. Later, standing at a busy crosswalk while holding the injured cat, Xue Jing looks up at the moon. At that moment, he decides that he will continue improving himself through effort and persistence. If the gods are truly gone, then he will rely on his own growth to reach heights that once seemed impossible. Inside his small apartment, Xue Jing placed a ceramic bowl filled with kibble on the floor and told the black cat to eat. To his surprise, the cat turned its head away with clear disinterest. Xue Jing found the reaction amusing and questioned whether a stray cat could really afford to be so picky. But after noticing the creature's unusually intense and almost human expression, he paused and reconsidered. The cat's behavior made him suspect that it might not be an ordinary animal. Without wasting time, he went to the kitchen and began preparing something better. As he chopped ingredients and worked quickly with a knife, the system responded with a notification that his cooking skill had increased by 20 points. He finished the dish with a quick stir-fry and placed the freshly cooked food in front of the cat. This time, the cat immediately began eating. While the cat focused on the meal, the system suddenly reacted again. A burst of golden light appeared in Xue Jing's palm as a notification confirmed that a special skill had been successfully activated. The system revealed a new passive ability called ***, 2 lives ***. According to the description, this ability would allow him to revive within 7 days if he died, although it would only activate once every 3 months. Xue Jing compared the ability to legendary resurrection equipment and realized how valuable it could be. He then checked the rest of the skill's information and discovered that its active ability was still locked. The system explained that unlocking it required 500 points of divinity, while he currently possessed only 25. This made him wonder whether the active effect would also consume divinity when used. At first, he considered continuing to absorb energy from the strange cat to increase his divinity. However, when he looked closely, he noticed the deep scars covering the cat's body. Seeing how badly it had been injured made him reconsider. He decided that draining more energy from the creature would be unfair, so he would need to find another way to gain divinity. After finishing its meal, the cat let out a satisfied sound while Xue Jing gently rubbed its head. Even though the opportunity to gain power was tempting, he chose to leave the cat alone for now. Instead, he planned to search for other clues about divinity while observing what the cat might do on its own. With that in mind, he stepped outside into the night. The air of the outer district felt heavy and oppressive. Life in the 5th Metropolitan Circle was difficult, and entering the inner rings of the city was extremely rare. Most people would have to pay enormous fees simply to gain entry, costs that could ruin even wealthy families. Even so, many desperate residents still tried their luck. In this world, there was another path to rising above poverty. If someone could become a martial artist, nearly every barrier in society would disappear. Thinking about that possibility strengthened his resolve. However, before he could go much further, several figures stepped out of the shadows and blocked his path. One of them called his name and demanded to know if he was Xue Jing. The group explained that they were acting on behalf of Pei Yuguang and accused him of interfering with someone their boss was interested in. They warned him that he would not leave the alley unharmed. Xue Jing remained calm and asked which brother they were referring to. Before the group could react, he moved. The confrontation ended almost immediately as several of the attackers were knocked to the ground. The remaining men were stunned, unsure of how he had moved so quickly. As the fight continued, Xue Jing's aiming skill activated, sharpening his perception and reactions. Several thugs were already lying on the pavement when one of them forced himself back up and warned that Xue Jing's tricks would not be enough to save him. The man suddenly released a powerful burst of energy and attacked again. Xue Jing narrowly avoided the strike, noticing that the blow was strong enough to crack the ground. At that moment, Xue Jing realized that the man was using genuine martial techniques. Instead of feeling worried, he considered it an unexpected opportunity. If the subordinate of Pei Yuguang truly knew martial arts, then he might also know useful information about the martial world. Calm but firm voice, he demanded that the man explain everything he knew about the martial world and about Pei Yuguang. He warned that if the man refused to speak, he would not show any mercy. The spiky-haired thug crashed into the stone wall and slid down to the ground, completely defeated. His earlier confidence disappeared as he begged for mercy and called out for Big Brother. In fear, he admitted defeat and promised to tell Xue Jing everything if the beating stopped. Watching him, Xue Jing realized that the thug's reputation had been exaggerated. Despite acting tough, he had relied on only a single move during the fight. At that moment, the system notified him that the rotating skill had activated. His previous aiming training had improved his dynamic vision, making his strikes more precise. Because of that improvement, dealing with fighters connected to Pei Yuguang no longer seemed very difficult. The interrogation continued in the quiet alley. The thug begged Xue Jing to stop attacking him. Xue Jing asked about the powerful punch he had used earlier. The thug explained that it was not a specific technique, but a result of something called inner force. According to him, inner force came from gathering energy from different parts of the body and releasing it outward through a strike. When asked who taught him, the thug admitted that he only understood the basics and could not explain it clearly. Xue Jing then mocked the man's reputation for crimes such as arson and murder. The thug quickly admitted those stories were mostly rumors he spread to make himself look dangerous. Otherwise, he would have been expelled long ago. Before leaving, Xue Jing warned him to write a self-criticism and recite it during morning reading, threatening another beating if he ignored the warning. He then demanded the address of the dojo where the thug had learned martial arts. The frightened man pointed him toward a dojo located in the city inner ring. As Xue Jing made his way through the streets, the system rewarded him for the battle. His fitness gained 20 experience points, aiming increased by 50, and recovery preservation increased by 23. His fighting skill also unlocked and granted 88 experience points. From this, he realized that real combat provided much more growth than ordinary training. Soon, he arrived at Golden Wind Dojo, a large martial arts building lit under the night sky. At the entrance, a staff member asked him to remain quiet because the master inside was teaching a class. Inside the training hall, the instructor explained that breathing techniques were the foundation of martial training. Only by circulating energy throughout the body could someone activate their internal force and truly begin the path of martial arts. Hearing this immediately interested Xue Jing because this was exactly the kind of training he had been searching for. He asked if he could join the session. The female manager noticed him and briefly reacted to his appearance, which caused a small increase in his charm experience. Meanwhile, the master instructed the students to tighten their core and inhale until their lungs reached their limit. Several students struggled with the exercise, including one student who began coughing. The manager quietly worried that none of the students might show real talent. As the countdown for the breathing test reached its final seconds, Xue Jing filled his lungs with a large amount of air. Instead of struggling, he felt energy building inside his chest. When time was called, he released a long breath and felt refreshed rather than exhausted. At that moment, the system confirmed that his inner force skill had activated at level 69. The instructor and the manager were surprised by how quickly he succeeded and immediately asked for his name, inviting him to join the Golden Wind Dojo. Before the conversation could continue, a loud crash interrupted the room. The door burst open as a dark figure rushed into the dojo. Panic spread across the hall as a large creature with glowing red eyes attacked a nearby student. The instructor immediately ordered Manager Zhang to maintain order and guide the students out of the building. During the chaos, Xue Jing moved quickly. When the creature launched another attack, he pushed the manager to the ground and shielded her from the strike. While others panicked, he focused on the concept he had just learned about inner force, gathering energy inside his body and directing it toward his fist. Energy began to gather around his hand as he faced the creature. Rather than retreating, Xue Jing prepared to test the power he had just awakened. Looking at the insect-like monster, he wondered if it possessed the extreme durability often associated with cockroaches. To deal with it quickly, he decided to focus all of his strength into a single concentrated strike. His system responded by activating Iron Force, pushing his body to release its maximum power. His punch landed with tremendous force and sent a shock through the room. The creature hissed in pain, and Xue Jing immediately realized that despite its frightening appearance, it was not as durable as he had expected. From the side of the hall, Li Jie watched the fight in amazement. The dojo master, however, was shocked for a different reason. He recognized that Xue Jing had just learned to use Qi Force, yet the amount he released was so large that it could damage his own body. Ignoring the risk, Xue Jing signaled for the creature to approach again, confident that the result would not change. As he gathered his energy, his mouth suddenly began to bleed. He looked at his hand, realizing he might have used more power than his body could endure. The creature was ready to attack. But suddenly, a blue light cut through the air, slicing the creature in half and killing it instantly. A tall woman with silver hair and a black suit stepped forward and introduced herself as Void Blade, the captain of White Raven Squad 838. She immediately ordered everyone who was not involved in the operation to evacuate the area. While Xue Jing wondered about this unfamiliar organization, Voidblade observed him carefully. She was surprised that a teenager had managed to defeat a cockroach-like monster with his bare hands and decided that someone with such potential should be recruited. Before leaving, she handed him a small note and told him to meet her at the Qing Chain Library on the 7th floor the following Sunday at 5 in the afternoon if he wanted answers. After she left, several girls from the dojo surrounded Xue Jing and urged him to visit a hospital to check for injuries. He politely declined their concern and thanked them before leaving the building. The dojo master watched him go and quietly admitted that a small dojo could not hold someone who had awakened Qi on his first attempt. As Xue Jing walked through the city at night, his system displayed a series of rewards from the battle. His fitness, health preservation, and charm all increased significantly. Thinking about the skill, Xue Jing realized that even strong defenses could be broken if enough force was concentrated in such a short strike. He briefly tried to gather the energy again, but he remembered the dojo master's warning that using Qi recklessly could harm his body. Deciding to rest instead, he continued walking through the dark streets while thinking about the mysterious White Raven Squad and the strange cockroach-like creature. When he finally returned home, he checked his phone and noticed a recording from his computer camera. The footage showed his black cat interacting with his computer. Curious, he asked the cat what it had been doing, but the animal only responded with a simple meow. Too tired to question it further, Xue Jing said that if the cat was hiding something, they could discuss it later. He collapsed onto his bed and quickly fell asleep. After he drifted off, the cat slowly approached and noticed the faint scent of blood on him. Realizing that he had been injured in a fight, the cat reacted with sudden anger. In a surge of power, it transformed and revealed its true identity as Ning Fengna, the leader of the Dragon Sect. She demanded to know who had dared to harm him and declared that she would seek justice for it. Xue Jing briefly opened one eye, muttered that the cat really could talk, and then fell back into deep sleep while Ning Fengna continued trying to wake him. The next morning, Xue Jing woke up feeling completely recovered thanks to the effect of his Two Lives ability. He began eating a large breakfast while speaking casually with the cat, whom he now called Nair. When she asked about the previous night, he calmly explained that he had not been beaten but had actually defeated a monster. The information troubled the cat because it meant such creatures had begun appearing closer to the city center. When Xue Jing thanked her for worrying and addressed her as Nair, she immediately became flustered and insisted that he should call her Lord Sect Leader instead. Xue Jing only smiled and jokingly called her Lord Nair. The lighthearted moment ended when he showed her the phone recording again and asked why she had been seen using his computer. The cat froze in shock as she realized that her secret had already been exposed. Xue Jing carefully examined the golden band wrapped around the cat's tail and recognized it as something known as a cattail ring. It was not simply an ornament, but a type of god relic. According to the history of this world, 287 years earlier, the being known as God had died, scattering golden fragments of divine power across the world. Over time, those fragments became rare relics that carried traces of divinity. Realizing this, Xue Jing understood why the cat had the ability to absorb divine energy. While examining the ring more closely, he pinched the cat's tail to inspect it. The cat immediately protested and asked how long he planned to keep squeezing. After coughing in discomfort, it clarified that it was not trying to explain how to use the relic. Instead, it wanted the ring removed as soon as possible. The cat then revealed the story behind its situation. It explained that the Dragon Sect had once been the dominant gang in Xinjiang, controlling many businesses including entertainment venues and illegal trades. Because of their power, they eventually attracted the envy of rivals. During an ambush at a private villa, someone forced the cattail ring onto the sect leader. The relic triggered a transformation that turned the leader into a cat, allowing the attackers to seize control of the entire organization. The transformed leader, now stuck in feline form, explained that the only way to reverse the curse and reclaim the sect was to remove the ring. However, breaking its power required strength. The cat believed that if Xue Jing became powerful enough, he would eventually encounter other holders of god relics. Those encounters could provide the clues needed to undo the ring's effect. To begin that path, the cat suggested that Xue Jing train at the Hidden Dragon Dojo. Xue Jing recognized the name immediately, but not because of its reputation for excellence. Online discussions about the dojo were filled with complaints about the extremely high tuition fees and harsh training methods. Many reviews mentioned that the famous martial artist Li Qi rarely appeared and that the training was physically exhausting. Despite those criticisms, the cat insisted that serious martial artists respected the dojo. According to tradition, new students could not simply apply to join. Instead, they had to perform what was known as a dojo storming, a challenge that tested a person's courage and strength before they could even be considered. The following day, Xue Jing arrived at the entrance of the Hidden Dragon Dojo. When a student stepped forward to greet him, Xue Jing misunderstood the situation. Believing the greeting was a test of strength, he gathered his internal energy and gripped the student's hand with intense force. The student immediately cried out in pain and begged him to let go. The surrounding disciples burst into laughter and explained that the student was simply a martial arts enthusiast who challenged everyone he met and usually lost. Soon afterward, the atmosphere changed as the senior members of the dojo appeared. Meng Boshang, the elderly master of the Hidden Dragon Dojo, approached in a wheelchair with the black cat sitting calmly on his lap. He was accompanied by several of his most talented disciples. Meng Boshang examined Xue Jing closely and remarked that it had been a long time since someone had attempted to storm his dojo. He questioned whether the young man truly believed he was worthy of standing in such a place. Feeling the pressure of the situation, Xue Jing realized that his current combat ability was still relatively limited. However, before any formal challenge began, Meng Boshang started asking him a series of personal questions about his name, age, and family background. The questions were so unusual that Xue Jing briefly wondered whether he had mistakenly walked into a family meeting rather than a martial arts challenge. The master laughed loudly at the reaction and jokingly suggested that Xue Jing might even become a future son-in-law of the dojo. Before the confusion could settle, Meng Qingjiao stepped forward and wrapped her hands in preparation for a match. She calmly stated that she would spar with him and promised not to be too harsh. The training hall cleared as the disciples gathered to watch. Some of them whispered that Xue Jing had little chance of winning now that the little senior sister herself had stepped forward. Xue Jing steadied himself, ready to prove his ability despite the unusual circumstances. Even the cat watched the scene with mixed emotions. Zhu Shuanying suddenly rushed forward and launched an attack, shouting a warning for Xue Jing to be careful. The black cat watching nearby panicked and called out his name, worried about what might happen. However, Xue Jing reacted instantly. Moving with remarkable speed, he intercepted the attack mid-motion and redirected her momentum with a precise grappling maneuver. After the brief clash ended, the tension in the hall suddenly shifted. Meng Boshang began laughing loudly and praised the black cat for bringing such a promising young talent to his dojo. Xue Jing then stood calmly and asked whether his dojo storming challenge had been accepted. Seeing the result of the match, Meng Boshang officially accepted him as a direct disciple of the Hidden Dragon Dojo. Xue Jing respectfully bowed and greeted his new master along with the senior disciples present. Zhu Shuanying, who was still recovering from the earlier clash, introduced herself as the sixth senior sister. Although she acknowledged his strength, she warned him not to become arrogant simply because she had underestimated him during their first encounter. After the formal introduction, a staff member guided Xue Jing through the registration process and addressed him as Young Master Xue. The title made him uncomfortable because he was not used to such formal treatment. Later, inside the lounge area, Meng Boshang explained that the title was normal for someone living in the inner ring of the city. To make things easier, they agreed to simply call him Master Jing instead. Once they were alone, the cat explained its view of the earlier fight. Although Zhu Shuanying had stronger physical ability and more refined technique, martial arts was not determined only by raw numbers. It also depended on awareness, judgment, and the situation during a fight. Zhu Shuanying had underestimated Xue Jing, which allowed him to take advantage of the moment. Hearing this made Xue Jing realize that he still had a great deal to learn. He then asked the cat where it had gone the previous night. The cat admitted that it had secretly visited someone known as Grandpa Li in order to arrange help for Xue Jing's entry into the dojo. At that moment, a female attendant entered the room and handed Xue Jing his identity authentication card for the dojo. The brief interaction also triggered a small increase in his charm experience. The following day, rumors spread throughout the dojo because Xue Jing had trained continuously through the entire night without rest. Many disciples watched in disbelief as he continued practicing while pushing his body to its limits. As a result, his system recorded major growth. His fitness increased by 234 points, his health preservation increased by 133 points, and his inner force skill rose from level 2 to level 3. Meng Boshang personally witnessed the training session and commented that Xue Jing might be the most talented disciple he had ever accepted. He even mentioned that if Xue Jing continued progressing like this, he would soon be ready to learn the Hidden Dragon Dojo's secret cultivation method. Hearing about the secret technique immediately excited Xuejing, and he eagerly asked what level he needed to reach before he could learn it. Instead of answering directly, Meng Boshang took hold of his hand and sent a powerful surge of true qi into his body. Xuejing tried to resist the sudden wave of energy, but quickly realized that the master was not attacking him. Instead, Meng Boshang was examining his physical condition. After sensing the balance of his muscles, bones, and internal organs, the master expressed great surprise. He asked what kind of sports Xuejing practiced, expecting a complex training background. When Xuejing simply answered that he used to focus on running, the master was even more shocked. Meng Boshang explained that Xuejing's body was unusually balanced, almost as if it had been perfectly designed for martial arts training. Although the master was impressed, he refused Xuejing's request to learn the secret cultivation method immediately. After observing his body more carefully, Meng Boshang realized that Xuejing had accumulated many injuries during his intense training session. Attempting the technique in that condition would be extremely dangerous. Instead, the master ordered him to rest and sent him to the lounge, promising to deliver a special medicine called Sleeping Dragon Ointment to help his recovery. Later that evening, a knock sounded at his door. Xuejing allowed the visitor to enter and was surprised to see Zhu Shanying standing there. Zhu Shanying approached Xuejing with a playful expression and told him to remove his shirt so she could apply medicine to his injuries. Once he did, she briefly admired his well-trained physique before preparing the treatment. Xuejing modestly brushed off the compliment and asked what he should do next. She instructed him to lie down on the bench while she began applying a cold ointment to the areas where he had been injured during training. As she worked, the system recorded a small increase in his charm due to her growing goodwill. Zhu Shanying told him to stay still while she treated the injuries. Xuejing remained cautious, unsure whether her intentions were completely serious or if she was teasing him. When she noticed his suspicious expression, she joked that he should not look at his senior sister with such doubt. During the treatment, she admitted that she had a competitive personality. While applying pressure to his muscles with surprising strength, she also mentioned that she had been careless during their earlier fight and had underestimated him. Because of that, she had decided to tease him a little as a form of playful revenge. Her attitude caused another small increase in his charm statistic. When she asked whether he was angry about it, Xuejing calmly replied that it only hurt slightly and told her to continue. At one point, she jokingly suggested that he should remove his pants so she could treat the lower part of his body as well. Xuejing immediately refused and said he would handle the rest himself. Zhu Shanying burst into laughter and revealed that she had only said it to make him uncomfortable. After finishing the treatment, she left the room while Xuejing completed the remaining recovery exercises on his own. The session turned out to be beneficial. The system confirmed that he had completed training related to the blurring dragon technique, granting a large amount of fitness experience. Later, remembering the appointment he had been given, Xuejing left the dojo and headed toward Qingcheng Library. He still found the name White Raven Squad somewhat unusual, even though he knew it referred to an elite police unit in the city. When he arrived at the 7th floor of the library, he noticed that the area was unusually quiet and almost empty. Just as he began to wonder whether the meeting was a mistake, a woman stepped out from between the shelves and greeted him. She introduced herself as Wu Yuqing and explained that Voidblade had referred him to her. According to her, they were meeting in the library because discussing the matter in a police station would attract unnecessary attention. After briefly evaluating him, Wu Yuqing stated that she wanted him to join her organization. Xuejing did not immediately agree and asked why he should consider joining. In response, she revealed that she knew he was searching for information about god relics. The statement immediately caught his attention. When he asked how she knew about his interest in god relics, she refused to explain further. Instead, Wu Yuqing produced a bottle of water labeled SSOA and poured him a cup. At first, the liquid tasted like ordinary water. She then asked him to take another sip. On the second taste, the flavor suddenly became sweet. She explained that this strange effect was related to a much larger truth about the world. Wu Yuqing then described the event that had occurred 287 years earlier when the deity of the world died. According to her explanation, fragments of divine power scattered across the world as points of light. These fragments eventually became a substance that researchers called God's blood. When the substance attached itself to objects, living beings, or even ideas, it created what people now refer to as god relics. To demonstrate, she showed him the container responsible for the water's unusual taste, a relic known as the sweet water kettle. When Xuejing touched the object, his system immediately reacted and began absorbing divine energy from it. The divinity stored within him quickly increased until it reached 50 points. This discovery made Xuejing realize that interacting with such relics could supply the energy needed to activate certain system abilities. After examining the kettle, he correctly guessed that its ability allowed it to produce an endless supply of water with changing taste. Wu Yuqing continued explaining that god relics were objects capable of defying normal physical laws. She emphasized that such relics were extremely rare and impossible to reproduce artificially. She also revealed why she wanted to recruit him. A few days earlier, he had defeated a dangerous creature without hesitation, demonstrating the kind of mindset required to deal with supernatural threats. Because of that, she formally invited him to join the Wu God Relic Containment Company, an organization responsible for handling incidents related to relics and abnormal creatures. After hearing the explanation and realizing the opportunities it offered, Shuijing accepted the invitation without hesitation. He agreed to join the organization, understanding that it would give him access to the knowledge and relics he needed to grow stronger. As he thought about it, he realized that joining the organization would give him access to many god relics. Since divinity could only be obtained from those artifacts, the opportunity could greatly accelerate his growth. He had already seen how powerful one passive ability like Twin Life could be, and he suspected that unlocking its active functions would make him far stronger. Wu Yuqing noticed his reaction and joked that he looked like someone who had just discovered a completely new world. She then pushed an employment agreement toward him and told him to review the terms before signing. The contract contained strict confidentiality rules and also described a compensation clause. When Shuijing pointed out the risks, she explained that relic incidents were classified by danger level, ranging from harmless D-grade cases to the highest A-grade threats. According to her, following proper procedures would keep a beginner safe for the time being. She also explained that the most dangerous relics were beyond the control of any single company and were handled directly by government authorities. Still curious, Shuijing asked why they had chosen him in particular. Although he had encountered one relic before, he did not think that alone made him qualified. Wu Yuqing corrected him. She explained that relics were not completely passive objects. They possessed a certain degree of will and tended to be drawn towards specific individuals. Some people naturally attracted them, and she herself was one of those individuals. According to her evaluation, Shuijing seemed to possess the same rare trait. To demonstrate the seriousness of the offer, she described the compensation package. His monthly salary would be 100,000, with additional shares from projects and company equity. The amount surprised Shuijing, though he tried not to show it. He claimed that the money was not his main concern and that he was more interested in the relics themselves. Nevertheless, he quickly signed the agreement. After finalizing the contract, he thanked Wu Yuqing and prepared to leave. She wished him success in their future cooperation. Now, balancing both the Hidden Dragon Dojo and his new job, Shuijing realized his schedule would become much busier. He even sent a message to his friend Li Ge, asking him to tell their teacher that he was sick so he could skip school for the day. Walking through the outer ring afterward, he reflected on how much his situation had changed. He then opened the system interface to examine his abilities. The display showed that he had accumulated more than 500 points of divinity, enough to activate the active function of Twin Life. When he activated the skill, the system presented several physical attributes that could be temporarily doubled, including accuracy, physical defense, strength, reaction speed, and movement speed. After thinking about it, Shuijing chose movement speed. In close combat, speed often decided the outcome of a fight. To test the effect, he selected a street lamp about 100 meters away and ran toward it to measure his normal speed. His time was roughly 10 seconds. After that baseline test, he activated Twin Life and ran the same distance again. This time, his speed increased dramatically, and he reached the lamp in just over 5 seconds. The result confirmed that the ability truly doubled his movement speed. Realizing how powerful that advantage could be in combat, he understood that such acceleration would make it extremely difficult for an opponent to react. Excited by the result, he attempted to activate the skill again. However, the system displayed a cooldown warning. Even though he had used the ability for only about 20 seconds, it could not be triggered again immediately. The system also showed that each second of use required 1,000 seconds of recovery time, meaning that a full recharge would take several hours. The sudden exhaustion from the test caught up with him. After returning home, he collapsed in the hallway and slept for several hours. When he woke up, he noticed a message from the dojo asking why he had not arrived yet. Realizing he was running late, Shuijing rushed toward the Hidden Dragon Dojo. When he arrived, Zhu Shanying had just finished a training session. She noticed him immediately and called him 7th junior brother. She explained that his timing was good because she planned to demonstrate proper Jin Force techniques to the other disciples through a sparring match. Some of the watching students whispered that Zhu Shanying would probably win this time since she had underestimated him during their previous encounter. Shuijing suspected that she wanted to regain the reputation she had lost earlier. For him, however, the match presented a valuable opportunity. He wanted to see how his newly unlocked ability would perform in an actual fight. As the two prepared to spar, he quietly activated Twin Life once again, ready to test the limits of his new power. As the match began, he used the speed advantage granted by his Twin Life ability and quickly overwhelmed her. The exchange ended with Zhu Shanying being driven to the ground by the impact of his final strike. Dust settled around the training floor as she looked up in confusion, unable to understand how she had lost even after using her full strength. Shuijing responded respectfully and claimed that his senior sister had only been careless. Despite the humble reply, the result was clear. The system reacted immediately, displaying a large increase in experience. After stepping away from the sparring area, Shuijing noticed that his sports-related skill had also advanced to level 2. He began to suspect that the system was now evaluating him differently during combat. By activating Twin Life, he had gained a level of speed that even an experienced martial artist like Zhu Shanying struggled to track. While he was still thinking about the fight, Li Ge approached him. As his 5th senior brother, Li Ge invited him to practice the Hidden Dragon Dojo's hibernating dragon technique. When Shuijing agreed to try it, Li Ge reacted with surprise after learning that he had already managed to cultivate Dragon Chi after only one night of training. To Liga, such progress sounded almost unbelievable. Liga then explained a concept often mentioned in martial arts legends known as the treasure body. According to the description, a practitioner who reached this level would transform their entire body into a weapon. The idea involved 5 perfected qualities: muscles with the power of dragons and elephants, tendons as strong as tree roots, skin as smooth and durable as polished glass, blood with the heat of magma, and bones as strong as jade. Liga believed this level was mostly mythical and far beyond normal martial artists. However, hearing about it sparked Sui Jing's ambition. If others considered it impossible, he wanted to become the one who achieved it. Before their conversation could continue, a loud crash interrupted them. A window high above suddenly shattered inward, and a large figure appeared among the broken glass. Liga immediately recognized the newcomer as Meng Bo-hang, the dojo's eldest senior brother and its most powerful disciple. He was known for unusual habits, including refusing to use doors and entering buildings by jumping from high places. Seeing this entrance left Sui Jing momentarily stunned by the level of strength it must have required. After briefly acknowledging them, Meng Bo-hang remained silent while Liga left to take care of other duties. Before going, Liga gave Sui Jing one final piece of advice about the hibernating dragon technique. He explained that the method depended heavily on how a martial artist controlled and shaped their internal force. Taking the advice seriously, Sui Jing began practicing alone. Sitting in a focused posture, he allowed his internal energy to circulate while concentrating on shaping it rather than simply increasing its quantity. For several hours, he refined the technique. Eventually, he tried combining the control method with his aiming ability, directing the gathered energy outward in a focused burst. The result was a powerful release that shook the training area. Seeing the damage caused by the concentrated force, Sui Jing realized that shaping chi was far more effective than simply releasing it without control. At that moment, the sound of applause came from nearby. Meng Bosheng, the dojo master, had arrived in his wheelchair. Standing beside him was Wu Yuqing from the God Relic Containment Company. The master praised Sui Jing's rapid development and the impressive growth of his physical abilities. Meng Bosheng then handed him a small pill and instructed him to swallow it. As soon as Sui Jing did, the master's eyes glowed with a strange light. Suddenly, Sui Jing's awareness shifted, and he felt as if he had been pulled into a completely different space. He found himself floating in an empty white void, unsure of what had happened. In the distance, a massive golden dragon appeared, its scales shining brightly as it moved through the empty space. As Sui Jing looked down at himself, he noticed that his body seemed different. His skin carried faint golden patterns that pulsed with unfamiliar energy. After swallowing the pill given by Meng Bosheng, Sui Jing immediately felt an intense heat spreading through his body. The sensation rushed through his veins like burning energy, making it difficult for him to stay calm. Realizing that the reaction was likely triggered by the medicine, he quickly activated the hibernating dragon technique in order to stabilize the chi inside his body. The technique helped him control the chaotic energy, and the burning sensation slowly faded. In its place came an unusual sense of clarity, as if every distracting thought had disappeared from his mind. At that moment, the system notified him that his visualization skill had activated at level 1. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself back inside the dojo. Meng Bosheng was still watching him carefully. The master explained that if Sui Jing had remained in that deep state of concentration any longer, he might have completely drained his chi. Even so, Meng Bosheng praised him for successfully cultivating dragon chi on his very first attempt, something that most disciples struggled to achieve. When Sui Jing asked what dragon chi actually represented, the master explained that it was closely connected to emotion. Feelings such as anger, determination, or desperation could all be transformed into power during combat. He then described 2 important concepts: the chi of motion, which stimulated emotion, and the chi of stillness, which allowed a martial artist to control those emotions. True mastery required balancing both forces. When Sui Jing asked for a specific training method, Meng Bosheng refused to give him a direct answer. Instead, he told him to search for the understanding within himself. The advice soon made sense. During his earlier state of intense concentration, Sui Jing had already begun to grasp the concept. As he focused his mind again, he noticed a remarkable change in his thinking. His memory had become extremely sharp, allowing him to recall even complicated problems from his previous life with perfect clarity. Things that had once seemed difficult now appeared simple. The improvement in his mental state made him realize that the visualization ability was enhancing not only his combat awareness, but also his intelligence. To test this new mental control, he imagined a massive golden dragon in his mind. Every scale and detail appeared clearly, showing how precise his visualization ability had become. Meng Bosheng interrupted the moment and said that theory alone was not enough. To test the student's progress, he called for Meng Qingjiao to spar with him. She had been eating a snack nearby, but the master explained that her control over motion-based chi was stronger than anyone else in the dojo. Sui Jing stepped forward to begin the sparring match, but before he could react properly, Qingjiao struck with incredible speed and sent him flying across the room. When he hit the ground, he was shocked by how quickly the attack had happened. Meng Bosheng laughed and explained that Sui Jing's intentions had been too obvious, making it easy for Qingjiao to counter him. Determined to improve, Sui Jing asked for another round. This time, he attacked without hesitation, focusing only on winning the exchange. However, Qingzhao calmly blocked or redirected every strike he launched. The match turned into a fast exchange of blows, with Xie Jing pushing himself to keep up while she responded with controlled precision. During one brief clash, he felt a strange sensation in his hand as their attacks connected, but he could not immediately understand what had happened. Before the fight could continue further, Meng Boshang called an end to the session. He noticed that Qingzhao's concentration was fading because she was hungry, which meant continuing the match would not produce useful results. The tension disappeared as soon as the fight stopped. As she left to eat, Xue Jing asked why she rarely spoke. Meng Boshang responded with a sigh and hinted that her silence was connected to a difficult past. Afterward, Xue Jing reviewed the results of the training session. Although he was extremely tired, the experience had been rewarding. 4 hours of sparring had dramatically increased his experience in multiple areas, including fitness, fighting, and visualization. Realizing how valuable training with Qingzhao could be, he decided that staying close to her for future practice would help him improve even faster. Later that night, he returned home carrying fried chicken for Nair. However, when he entered the apartment, the main room was completely empty. Just as he was about to call out, he heard the sound of running water coming from the bathroom. Holding the bag of food, he remained alert as the sound of splashing water continued from behind the closed door. Remembering that she had once mentioned having enemies, he briefly worried that something might have happened to her. Thinking she could be in danger, he rushed toward the bathroom and pushed the door open while calling her name. Instead of danger, he found the black cat relaxing in a tub of warm water. Realizing there was no problem, he relaxed immediately and told her to hurry up, because the fried chicken he had brought home would get cold if she stayed in the bath too long. The mention of food quickly caught the cat's attention. As steam filled the room, Xue Jing helped wash the cat by scrubbing her fur. While she enjoyed both the warm water and the thought of eating fried chicken soon, the system suddenly produced a notification. Someone had generated a large amount of favorability toward him, granting him 89 experience points in his charisma technique. In the next moment, a bright flash appeared in the bathtub. When the light faded, the small black cat had disappeared. In her place was a young woman with dark hair, feline ears, and a tail. Xue Jing stared in shock and asked how she had suddenly turned into a human. The unexpected transformation immediately created an awkward situation. The girl quickly covered herself and shouted for him to turn away, her face turning red with embarrassment. Xue Jing tried to calm her down and insisted that he had not meant to see anything. He suggested that they both settle down so they could understand what had just happened. As they tried to process the situation, Xue Jing began thinking about the possible cause. Considering everything that had just happened, he suspected that the transformation might have been triggered by a condition linked to a god relic. The strange timing suggested that her emotional reaction combined with the excitement about food had accidentally activated the relic's effect. Wanner, now in human form, complained about the strange relic that had caused the transformation. She blamed the legacy left behind by the deity and wondered why it had produced such inconvenient features as ears and a tail. At the same time, the awkward position between them made the situation even more uncomfortable. Xue Jing warned her that she needed to move away quickly so that they could both calm down. She told him to keep his eyes closed while she moved. The two struggled to regain their composure inside the cramped bathroom, with Wanner trying to shift away while apologizing for the awkward situation. Eventually, she hurried out of the room in embarrassment, leaving Xue Jing alone. After some time had passed and things had calmed down, Xue Jing left the bathroom and noticed that the black cat had returned to her original form. When he asked about it, she explained that she had transformed back into a cat once her emotions had settled. She admitted that she had no idea how to control the transformation. Xue Jing decided that the best solution would be to ask Wu Yuqing, who understood god relics much better than they did. Perhaps she would know how to deal with the strange effects of the ring. The next morning, Xue Jing woke up feeling refreshed. His system displayed a reward for maintaining a disciplined sleep routine, giving him 20 experience points and raising his health preservation skill to level 3. Soon afterward, his phone chimed with a message. Wu Yuqing had contacted him and asked him to come immediately because there was a new job waiting for him. Seeing the message, Xue Jing quickly got ready, eager to begin his first assignment with the God Relic Containment Company. Xue Jing walked through the quiet aisles of Qingqing Library, looking for Wu Yuqing. She had asked for a quick meeting, but the large reading hall appeared almost empty. Only one person was visible, a girl with glasses sitting at a distant desk. As he studied the room more carefully, he began to suspect that the girl might actually be Wu Yuqing in disguise. When he approached, the woman looked up and confirmed his guess, noting that his awareness was unusually sharp for him to notice her presence so quickly. Wu Yuqing then explained the reason for her disguise. She showed him the glasses she was wearing and identified them as a god relic called the Unremarkable Glasses, cataloged as God 1280. The relics suppressed the wearer's presence so completely that people around them would barely notice they existed. As Xue Jing listened, his system detected the relic and began absorbing small amounts of divinity from it. Wu Yuqing added that the relic's real ability appeared when the glasses were removed. After suppressing a person's presence for a long time, taking them off would cause that presence to erupt with overwhelming intensity. The longer someone wore them, the stronger the effect would be when the suppression ended. Hearing this explanation reassured Xue Jing, who realized that his earlier strange behavior had likely been influenced by the relic rather than a sudden lapse in judgment. After explaining the relic, Wu Yuqing handed him a mission file. The assignment was a special C-rank containment mission involving another relic known as God 1108, the Villainess's Crown of Glory. According to the report, the crown amplified the wearer's most basic desires. The current host of the relic was a woman named Lu Huaying. Lu Huaying had become obsessed with possessing any attractive man she encountered. Wu Yuqing explained that the unremarkable glasses were specifically chosen for Xue Jing's role in the operation. By wearing the glasses for a while, his presence would be suppressed. When he removed them near the target, the sudden release of that suppressed presence would strongly attract Lu Huaying's attention. During that moment, he would have the opportunity to remove the crown and neutralize the relic's influence. Realizing this plan, Xue Jing understood that he was essentially being used as bait. However, he quickly considered the advantages. If he carried out the mission successfully, he would be able to absorb divinity from 2 different relics at once. The idea immediately caught his interest. During their conversation, he also learned that the God Relic Containment Company was not the only organization dealing with such incidents. Wu Yuqing explained that there were many containment groups across the country because thousands of relics had already been discovered and new ones could appear anywhere. Since the state could not manage all of them directly, many missions were handled by private companies. She warned him that some rival organizations were far less cooperative and would pursue relics aggressively for profit. After hearing the explanation, Xue Jing decided to test the effect of the glasses. When he removed them briefly, the sudden release of his suppressed presence startled Wu Yuqing and caused a noticeable reaction. His system immediately recorded a small increase in charm. Satisfied that the relic worked as described, he focused again on the mission details. The file explained that Lu Huaying was 43 years old and the leader of the Rose Gang in the Southern District. Her gang controlled several entertainment businesses such as KTV lounges, bars, and host clubs. Under the influence of the Villainess's Crown of Glory, she had gained enhanced physical strength and expanded her territory within the local underworld. The mission had become urgent because the Crown's influence drove her to continuously seek out men and drain their vitality. The relic also strengthened her physical abilities through this cycle of desire, making her more dangerous over time. The only way to stop the effect was to remove the crown directly. Xue Jing arrived in the Southern District where the atmosphere was tense and chaotic. In the middle of the street, Lu Huaying stood surrounded by destruction, swinging a bat while loudly declaring that no one had the right to control her. Her behavior made it clear that the influence of the Villainess's Crown of Glory had greatly amplified her impulses. Watching from a nearby alley, Xue Jing felt uncomfortable with the scene and thought her attitude was exaggerated, but he immediately recognized that she was the target described in the mission file. Nearby, Lu Huaying approached a frightened man and spoke to him with mocking affection. She demanded to know where his 2 sons were and insisted that both of them come entertain her. From his hidden position, Xue Jing watched the situation unfold while feeling reluctant about the plan that required him to attract her attention. Before he could act, another group suddenly appeared. Duan Kaiping, the leader of the Razor Gang, arrived with several men. Realizing a confrontation was about to happen, Xue Jing stayed hidden to observe. Duan Kaiping confronted Lu Huaying and accused her of becoming too arrogant. Lu Huaying dismissed him at first, asking who he was. When her subordinates identified him as the man who had previously attacked them, she examined him more closely and even complimented his physique. The comment only angered Duan Kaiping further. The situation quickly escalated into a fight. Duan Kaiping charged forward and demanded that Lu Huaying return the territory she had taken from his gang. From the exchange, Xue Jing realized that the Rose Gang had recently seized land from the Razor Gang, which had triggered the conflict. What began as an argument soon turned into a violent clash between the 2 groups. As the fight spread across the street, civilians were caught in the chaos. One man shouted in panic after his child was knocked aside during the struggle. Seeing the disturbance ruin her entertainment, Lu Huaying's expression changed dramatically. Her playful attitude vanished and was replaced by anger. She confronted Duan Kaiping directly, and the 2 leaders began fighting at a much higher level of intensity. Xue Jing carefully watched their movements. Duan Kaiping demonstrated strong martial skill, even shaping his hand like a blade capable of cutting through solid objects. However, Lu Huaying's body had been strengthened by the relic, giving her abnormal durability. Even when Duan Kaiping struck accurately, she only suffered minor injuries. While observing the fight, Xue Jing received an important notification from his system. His divinity absorption had finally reached 100%. With enough divinity stored, he was able to activate additional enhancements. Since he had already increased his movement speed earlier, he now decided to strengthen his physical power as well. Moments later, he launched an attack from the shadows. A concentrated burst of force struck Duan Kaiping's leg, severely injuring him. The sudden blow shocked everyone present. Realizing they had been attacked unexpectedly, Duan Kaiping immediately ordered his men to retreat. The Razor Gang quickly withdrew while Duan Kaiping shouted that they would return for revenge. Lu Huaying wiped blood from her mouth and admitted that the mysterious strike had actually hurt. When she turned around, she saw Xue Jing calmly walking toward her. She asked if he had been the one responsible and wondered if he was carrying a gun. Xue Jing confirmed that the attack had come from him, though he explained that it was not an ordinary weapon. While observing her posture, he noted that despite her strength, her fighting style showed little formal training. Xue Jing decided to confront her directly. His plan was to defeat her without immediately relying on the special effect of the glasses. If necessary, he could remove them later to trigger the relic's influence. Lu Huaying laughed at the idea, suggesting that the only way he could defeat her would be through charm rather than combat. However, her confidence quickly faded when a powerful aura erupted from his body. The force surrounding him formed the outline of a massive dragon-like presence. Seeing the overwhelming pressure, Lu Huaying suddenly realized that the young man in front of her possessed far greater strength than she had expected. Her voice became uncertain as she asked who he really was. Xue Jing adjusted his glasses calmly and replied with a slight smile. Instead of revealing his real identity, he told her she could simply call him Set. Xue Jing activated his twin life ability and immediately surged forward with explosive speed. Within seconds, he had already closed the distance, launching himself into the fight without hesitation. People nearby watched the scene in shock. Some whispered that it looked like something from a movie, unable to believe that someone could actually overpower Lu Huaying. She had just defeated Duan Kaiping, yet now she was struggling against a young man who had appeared out of nowhere. Lu Huaying, furious at being pressured, shouted that Xue Jing had pushed her too far. She swung her heavy bat with full force, aiming to crush him. Xue Jing avoided the attack at the last moment and countered immediately, striking her jaw with a powerful punch. Blood sprayed into the air as the blow landed. Before she could recover, he grabbed her and continued attacking, forcing her backward with a series of relentless strikes. During the fight, Xue Jing followed the harsh lessons he had learned from his master. In real combat, victory mattered more than appearances. He attacked Lu Huaying's weak points without hesitation, targeting her eyes and other vulnerable areas to prevent her from fighting effectively. The continuous blows finally overwhelmed her, and he ended the battle by slamming her head into the pavement. When the dust settled, Lu Huaying lay unconscious in a crater on the street. Xue Jing removed the villainess's crown of glory from her head, completing the main objective of the mission. His system immediately began extracting divinity from the relic. To confirm the containment, he took a photo of the crown and sent a message to Wu Yuqing reporting the successful recovery. As the system continued absorbing energy from the relic, Xue Jing noticed that the extraction rate was gradually increasing. However, before the process could finish, a man in a formal suit suddenly approached and demanded that he hand over the crown. The stranger claimed that Xue Jing had no authority to handle such an artifact. Xue Jing refused and held the crown firmly. Interrupting the extraction now would waste the divinity he had nearly finished collecting. The suited man's expression hardened as his eyes began to glow with a red light. When Xue Jing quickly assessed the situation through his system, he discovered that the man's physical level and danger rating were far higher than any opponent he had faced before. Realizing that the gap in strength was dangerous, Xue Jing attempted to escape. Unfortunately, the man moved even faster than he expected. The stranger mocked his earlier fighting tactics and revealed that he had already been prepared for such tricks. The chase quickly turned desperate. The suited man pursued him relentlessly, breaking through obstacles without slowing down. Xue Jing pushed his body to its limits while waiting for the extraction process to finish. The system displayed the progress climbing higher and higher as he tried to gain distance. Just as he began to think he might escape, the man suddenly caught up and struck him with tremendous force. The blow sent Xue Jing flying through a brick wall. He crashed to the ground and struggled to breathe as dust filled the air. At that moment, he realized that running alone would not save him. However, the extraction process finally reached completion. The system unlocked a new divine ability called Shadow Flame, and the required divinity was already available. As the suited man approached and warned that he would break Xue Jing's limbs if he continued resisting, Xue Jing made his decision. Instead of retreating again, he reached forward and grabbed the man's face. The moment he did, the new power began to activate. The man's expression changed as he suddenly recognized what Xue Jing was and referred to him as a recipient, a term that confused him because he had never heard it before. At the same time, his system displayed new updates showing that Shadow Name Level 1 and Shadow Flame Level 1 had been unlocked. Xue Jing demanded an explanation, wanting to know why the appearance of the Black Flames had made the man connect him to that title. However, the thug's reaction showed that the term clearly carried serious meaning. When Xue Jing asked again what a recipient was, the thug attempted to escape through the rubble. Xue Jing did not allow him to flee. As soon as he focused his thoughts, the Shadow Flame responded automatically. The dark energy shot forward toward the escaping man as if it were being guided by his intent. The thug shouted in panic and begged him to stop, but the attack continued relentlessly. The black flames drilled into him with precise control, and his screams echoed through the ruined street. In the end, the attack overwhelmed him, and he collapsed to the ground. After the fight ended, Shura Jing examined the body and noticed something unusual. The man's outer layer consisted of artificial skin that was highly durable and showed very little damage from the outside. This made him realize that the shadow flame had destroyed the target internally rather than burning the exterior. The system then recorded the results of the battle. A large amount of experience was awarded, increasing his fighting ability by more than 600 points while also improving his fitness, health preservation, and aiming attributes. The fight had significantly strengthened him once again. Curious about the nature of his new power, Shura Jing picked up a stone nearby and noticed that the black flame had scorched its surface even though the rock was dense. When he touched it, the stone was not hot at all. This observation led him to conclude that the shadow flame did not behave like normal fire. Instead, it seemed to draw energy from surrounding shadows, converting darkness into destructive power. After testing the ability briefly, he dismissed the flames and checked his system again. He noticed that the skill had entered a cooldown state without any warning. Deciding that he could analyze it later, he prepared to contact Wu Yuqing and report what had happened in the Southern District. While this was happening, events were unfolding elsewhere. In a hidden facility, a silver-haired master confronted a subordinate named Ping Ping, who was kneeling on the floor covered in bandages. The master reminded him that he had repeatedly warned his followers not to create unnecessary trouble. Even though Ping Ping begged for forgiveness and claimed the incident was a mistake, the master angrily grabbed his head and demanded an explanation. When the master asked about 2 agents who had been sent out earlier, Ping Ping revealed that both had been destroyed. He also reported that a young man named Shura Jing had been responsible for their defeat. Hearing this name caused the master's anger to intensify. He refused to believe that an ordinary person could defeat his experimental subjects, even if they were incomplete versions. Furious, he ordered his followers to capture Shura Jing immediately. The master declared that he intended to personally punish the boy by feeding him to a terrifying creature known as the Great Sky-Looking Insect Mother. According to him, sacrificing Shura Jing to the creature could produce even stronger offspring. Standing before the massive insect-like organism in the facility, the master revealed his larger ambition. He planned to use such creatures and experiments to expand his power until he could eventually control the entire world. After completing their mission in the Southern District, Shura Jing arrived at Dingcheng Library and stepped into the elevator that led to the 7th floor. As the elevator moved upward, he reflected on the chaos caused during the mission and wondered how Wu Yuqing would handle the consequences. In the end, he decided that worrying would not change anything. If problems appeared later, he would deal with them when the time came. When the elevator doors opened, he was surprised to see Wu Yuqing waiting for him. Even more surprising was her reaction. She immediately bowed and apologized for the danger he had faced during the mission. She explained that leaving him to deal with such risks alone had been a serious mistake on her part. To compensate, she informed him that his mission rating would be upgraded to C+ rank and that additional rewards would be provided. Shura Jing accepted the explanation, though he privately thought her reaction was very different from what he had expected. As they walked through the library together, Wu Yuqing explained that the identity of the man Shura Jing had killed had now been confirmed. His name was Zhu Yingkun, a C-class containment specialist working for Shu's containment company in the Inner Ring. Wu Yuqing said she had already contacted Shu's company about the incident. However, they claimed that Zhu Yingkun had acted on his own, and that the attack was unrelated to their official operations. Shura Jing found this explanation suspicious. It seems strange that someone from the Inner Ring would travel all the way to the Outer Ring for an object like the villainess's Crown of Glory. Wu Yuqing spread a map across a table and pointed out the location of Shu's company in the Inner Ring. She agreed that the situation did not make much sense, but since the company's statement contained no obvious loopholes, she could not challenge it directly. Before leaving, she asked him to hand over the recovered crown. When he asked whether he should also return the special glasses he had used during the mission, she told him to keep them for future assignments. During the conversation, she also mentioned something strange discovered in Zhu Yingkun's autopsy report. Every internal organ in his body had completely disappeared, which she found extremely unusual. She asked Shura Jing if he knew how such damage could have happened. Shura Jing thought about the Shadow Flame ability but decided not to reveal it. Instead, he jokingly asked whether he was allowed to keep some secrets. Wu Yuqing eventually accepted his answer and admitted that everyone had their own private matters. After that, she handed him a golden containment card and explained that it served as identification within the organization. The card would allow him to access resources and facilities connected to containment work. With a snap of her fingers, a hidden mechanism in the library activated, revealing a secret section behind the shelves. She told him that the entire archive of relic information stored there was now available to him. Since she still had work to handle, she encouraged him to explore the records on his own. Shura Jing entered the massive archive room and immediately began searching for information about the Cattail Ring. The database contained records for thousands of god relics, but most of them required higher security clearance. Each time he tried to access certain files, the system denied his request due to insufficient permissions. After several attempts, he finally located the entry for God 1391, the Cattail Ring. When he scanned his containment card, the system granted partial access to the first 2 layers of information. According to the records, the cattail ring allowed the wearer to transform into a harmless kitten. After wearing the ring for a full month, the user could freely switch between human and cat forms. At first, the ability sounded relatively harmless, which made him wonder why the relic was classified with a higher danger level. Continuing to read, he discovered a deeper connection involving the alien god cult. Historical records explained that after the death of the world's deity, strange borderlands appeared across the planet. Within those ruins, people discovered methods of contacting entities known as alien gods. Groups seeking power began forming cults to communicate with these beings. Those who successfully received power from such entities were known as recipients. Around 200 years earlier, a group called the Lion Sage Cult had attempted to contact an alien god known as Bastet. Their attempts initially failed. However, one of their followers eventually used the cattail ring to transform into a cat. In that form, the cult finally succeeded in attracting the attention of the alien god. Instead of blessing the person directly, the divine power entered the cattail ring itself. From that moment on, the relic began carrying the power associated with Bastet. The records also warned that as the bond with the relic deepened, the wearer would gradually gain more of the alien god's power until they eventually transformed into the true vessel of that deity. After reading this final section, Shi Jing realized the danger immediately. If the Lion Sage cult discovered that someone currently possessed the cattail ring, they would do anything to reclaim it. That meant their next target would likely be Nair, the current holder of the ring. After studying the records in the secret archive, Shi Jing focused on the manual related to the cattail ring. The information made him realize how fortunate he had been to grow stronger quickly. He remembered that joining the dojo had greatly accelerated his development, and without that progress, both he and Nair might have already been in serious danger. The document describing the relic explained that the cattail ring's fusion process required intense, emotional stimulation, followed by repeated interaction with the nearest person. These conditions would gradually deepen the connection between the relic and its holder. As he read this, Shi Jing remembered the moment when he had been bathing the cat and she had suddenly transformed into a human. The memory was vivid enough that he quickly forced himself to stop thinking about it, before his imagination carried the thought too far. Looking through the remaining files, he discovered another report indicating that the cattail ring carried divine authority connected to the entity Bastet. The relic itself had no immediate negative side effects, although the Lion Saint sect remained a serious threat because of their connection to the relic. Unfortunately, Shi Jing's current clearance level was too low to reveal deeper details about Bastet's power or how the ring could be removed. While he was still reading, his phone suddenly displayed a notification. Wu Yuqing had transferred 100 million yuan as compensation for his mission. The unexpected amount immediately solved his financial worries. With money no longer a problem, he decided to celebrate by buying high-quality ingredients and cooking a large meal for Nair, planning to discuss the relic's transformation condition with her at a better time. Over the next 5 days, Shi Jing lived more comfortably than before. One evening, while Nair in her cat form was eating a large lobster, she asked why he had been spending so much money recently and whether he had suddenly become wealthy. Shi Jing admitted that he had received a large reward, but explained that most of it had already been used. He had been training the tremor armor technique under Master Meng Boshang, which required expensive medicine and medicinal baths costing around 40,000 wen per session. After several treatments, his savings had dropped dramatically. Nair reminded him that he still needed to save money for many other things, including weapons, formal clothing for important occasions, and rare materials related to her own sanctuary item, which alone could cost over 100,000 wen. Hearing this made Shi Jing realize that despite the reward he had received, money could still disappear quickly. Since his next payment from Wu Yuqing had not yet arrived, he began searching for temporary work. That evening, he contacted Li Jie and asked if there were any jobs available, even something simple like bodyguard work. Li Jie replied that he should come to the Hidden Dragon Dojo the following afternoon for an evaluation. When Shi Jing arrived the next day, he demonstrated the results of his recent training. His progress in the Ironbone stage had already reached 9%, and during the test he awakened a new skill known as Soft Force at level 1. Li Jie watched in surprise, realizing that Shi Jing had advanced in the tremor armor technique much faster than expected. Other disciples gathered to observe the demonstration. Some of them, including Wen Xiaorong and Ning Mengmeng, showed their own punching strength on the testing equipment and jokingly warned Shi Jing not to hurt his hand. When it was his turn, he delivered what looked like a light strike against the punching bag without building up visible force. At first, the spectators assumed he had intentionally held back. However, a moment later, the punching bag exploded apart, and the measuring device reached its maximum reading. The room fell silent as the disciples stared at the destroyed equipment. Shi Jing then explained that the technique he had used was soft force. Instead of relying on raw strength, the method concentrated qi into a precise point, allowing the power to explode inside the target. The demonstration impressed the other students, who thanked him for showing them the technique. Seeing his progress, Li Jie presented him with a job opportunity. A wealthy client at the Rusha Hotel on Jinhai Street needed protection, and the assignment required skilled martial artists. The reward for the mission was extremely high, with payment ranging from 800,000 to 1 million wen. The moment Xue Jing heard the amount, his calm attitude disappeared. The possibility of earning such a large sum immediately captured his attention. Without hesitation, he grabbed the assignment details and insisted that Li Jie allow him to take the job. Xue Jing stepped out wearing his simple black martial arts uniform. His calm appearance immediately attracted attention, and several people in the lobby quietly questioned whether someone so young could really be part of the security team. Soon after, Zhu Shunying approached him and criticized his choice of clothing. She argued that appearance mattered in such a high-profile setting and warned that dressing too simply would cause others to underestimate him. Xue Jing, however, replied that the outfit was comfortable and practical for work. Zhu Shunying tried to persuade him to change into a bright red designer suit that Ningxia had prepared. Xue Jing refused immediately, saying the outfit was far too flashy. Nearby, Meng Qingjiao silently supported his decision by holding up the same black clothing he was already wearing. The discussion between the disciples began attracting attention from other guests in the hotel lobby. Some people started whispering that the young man might be a disciple from the Hidden Dragon Dojo. However, a martial artist named Li Jiaoquan, dressed in a white suit, dismissed the idea. He claimed that the dojo's famous master only accepted extremely talented students and doubted that someone who looked so ordinary could be among them. Pei Yuguang quickly disagreed and warned Li Jiaoquan not to judge people by appearances. He pointed out that Xue Jing's movements were extremely precise, with every step showing a level of body control that only experienced martial artists could achieve. Even after hearing this explanation, Li Jiaoquan remained unconvinced and insisted that individual skill meant little when facing large groups in real combat. Their conversation was interrupted when a hotel manager approached and confirmed Xue Jing's identity. The manager explained that 50 martial artists had been hired to secure the event and showed him a floor plan of the building. Xue Jing was assigned to guard the stage area, a location with poor lighting that required extra attention. After the manager left, Xue Jing carefully examined the surroundings. The hall contained far more bodyguards and surveillance equipment than a typical event would require. This unusual level of security made him suspect that something important was happening behind the scenes. While he was still thinking about it, Li Jiaoquan approached him directly and asked whether he really was the newest disciple of the Hidden Dragon Dojo. After introducing himself as a member of the Tiger Soul Dojo, Li Jiaoquan suggested that they briefly test each other's abilities. Xue Jing agreed without hesitation, recognizing that the man was clearly trying to measure his strength. Across the room, Pei Yuguang watched the scene with surprise, realizing that Xue Jing was now involved in a high-level environment among skilled martial artists. Some spectators began discussing the outcome, remembering that Li Jiaoquan had previously injured other opponents during similar tests. Although the two fighters appeared calm, the atmosphere around them grew tense. To experienced observers, it was clear that both were preparing to release their power. Pei Yuguang's older brother carefully watched the exchange and quietly remarked that Xue Jing's body seemed exceptionally well trained and that his internal energy appeared unusually pure. Meanwhile, Li Jiaoquan sensed very little pressure coming from his opponent and mistakenly assumed that Xue Jing lacked experience. Confident in his own strength, he mocked the young man and suggested that he should leave the event before embarrassing himself. Xue Jing remained calm and responded that although Li Jiaoquan possessed solid physical strength from years of training, that alone would not determine the outcome. The moment their hands connected during the test, Xue Jing released a burst of Jin force. The sudden shockwave traveled through their arms and Li Jiaoquan immediately felt intense pain. A sharp, cracking sound followed, indicating that his hand had been injured. Despite the damage, Li Jiaoquan tried to maintain his dignity. He forced a smile and praised Xue Jing's skill before claiming that he needed to use the restroom. With that excuse, he quickly left the area. Xue Jing simply watched him go, unaware of the full extent of the damage he had caused. Once Li Jiaoquan reached the hallway out of sight, he collapsed to his knees, clutching his injured hand in pain. Realizing how easily the young disciple had overpowered him, he began to wonder what kind of powerful martial artist the Hidden Dragon Dojo had truly produced. Soon after, Pei Yuguang approached him with a friendly greeting, addressing him as Brother Jing, as if they were already familiar with each other. Xue Jing briefly recalled their previous confrontation and wondered whether Pei had truly recovered from the injuries he had suffered back then. However, Pei appeared relaxed and explained that he held no grudge. Xue Jing asked directly what Pei wanted. Pei explained that his older brother had witnessed Xue Jing's brief contest with Li Jiaoquan earlier and had been very impressed. According to Pei, his brother was a talented martial artist who had earned admission to Inner Ring University through the extremely difficult martial arts examination. Because of that reputation, several wealthy families and young women attending the event had also become curious about Xue Jing and hoped to meet him. Xue Jing immediately declined the idea of being introduced around. He explained that he was busy with work and said that if people truly wanted to meet him, they should come speak with him themselves instead of waiting for someone else to arrange it. His confident response unexpectedly caught the attention of nearby guests. Several women gathered around him and enthusiastically agreed with his words. Some of them quickly asked to exchange contact information. Although Xue Jing initially hesitated, he eventually gave his number to one persistent woman who promised to share useful information with him in the future. While this conversation was happening, a man wearing a dark tracksuit quietly pushed a cart covered with cloth through the area. Xue Jing noticed the unusual figure but did not have time to react before the man suddenly pressed a large red button. A brief electronic sound echoed through the hall, and moments later the entire building was plunged into darkness. At first, some people assumed it was simply a power outage. However, when several guests attempted to turn on the flashlights on their phones, none of the devices worked. Xue Jing quickly realized what had happened. Every electronic device in the room had stopped functioning at the same time, which could only mean that the building had been struck by an electromagnetic pulse. The realization created immediate tension among the guests. Such technology was normally associated with large-scale military actions, so no one understood why it had been used inside a hotel. Before anyone could investigate further, a loud scream suddenly echoed from the banquet area. The sound of shattering glass followed, and panic quickly spread. People began shouting that someone had disappeared. One moment, a man known as Old Wang had been standing among them, and the next moment, he was gone. Pei Yuguang tried to control the situation by telling everyone to stay calm and stand close together. However, the darkness made it impossible to see clearly. Soon, another voice cried out in fear, claiming that something was moving in the shadows. Moments later, another guest named President Zhang vanished as well, leaving behind only a pool of fresh blood on the floor. Fear turned into chaos as people began running in different directions despite the danger. Suddenly, a fast-moving shape rushed through the crowd. A man was slashed across the chest and collapsed immediately. Seeing the attack, Pei's older brother stepped forward and attempted to fight the unseen intruder. He managed to land a powerful strike and shouted for others to help him. However, the enemy responded even faster. A dark figure moved through the air and struck him unexpectedly. Pei watched in horror as his brother was thrown back, coughing blood from a deep wound. As the situation worsened, the shape of the attacker finally became visible. A monstrous silhouette with bladed limbs appeared in the darkness, its glowing eyes fixed on its victims. The injured martial artist urged Pei to escape, but the creature responded with a cold voice, declaring that it was already too late. And Xue Jing reacted first. With a powerful kick, he sent the insect-like creature crashing into a stone wall. The impact shook the room and covered the area in dust. Seeing this, the people who were still hiding nearby were shocked that the terrifying monster had been pushed back so easily. Some guests whispered in disbelief, while others wondered where the senior martial artist who had been hired as security had disappeared. In reality, many of them had already fled when the situation became too dangerous. Li Ge rushed forward and thanked Xue Jing for saving him and his older brother earlier, but Xue Jing immediately warned him to keep his distance because the creature was not dead yet. The monster soon began moving again. Its resilience made Xue Jing realize that it was even more evolved than the cockroach-like creature he had encountered before. He decided that he would continue fighting, but would retreat if the situation became impossible, reminding himself that no amount of money was worth losing his life. He attacked again, using inch force to strike the monster's back with concentrated power. The blow produced a loud crack, but the creature continued to resist. As the fight continued in complete darkness caused by the earlier electromagnetic pulse, Xue Jing discovered something unexpected. His shadow flame ability allowed him to see clearly in the dark, turning the pitch-black environment into a space he could navigate easily. This hidden ability surprised him because the system had never mentioned it before. While he fought, Li Jie watched nervously from a distance and thought that the battle was evenly matched. However, Li Jiaoquan realized something different. After observing carefully, he noticed that Xue Jing had not retreated a single step because he was deliberately holding the creature in place to protect everyone else. Understanding that they were only putting him at risk by staying, the remaining people quickly decided to escape and seek help. Once the civilians began leaving the area, Xue Jing no longer needed to hold back. He focused completely on the creature in front of him. Suddenly, the monster revealed a hidden advantage. Its speed increased dramatically, allowing it to bypass Xue Jing's guard. Its claws struck his chest, and a sharp pain spread through his body. For a brief moment, everything slowed down, and he wondered whether the injury might be fatal. As his consciousness wavered, fragments of memory passed through his mind. The thought of dying to such a creature felt humiliating after all of the effort he had invested in becoming stronger. In that moment of crisis, he suddenly saw the image of a massive golden dragon within his mind, surrounded by lightning. The vision reminded him of the power he had previously sensed during his training. The sudden surge of determination brought him back to full awareness just as the monster attempted another attack. Gathering his inner force, he countered with a hidden dragon-style technique known as Cloud Sealing Tail. The strike released a powerful shockwave that destroyed the creature's upper body. Even after losing its head, the monster continued to twitch. Xue Jing quickly remembered that cockroach-like organisms could survive for a long time even without a head. Identifying the true weak point beneath the esophagus, he crushed the creature's ganglion with a final stomp, permanently ending the threat. Once the danger passed, the remaining guests reacted with excitement and relief. Some wealthy attendees even began discussing the possibility of sponsoring the mysterious martial artist who had saved them. Li Jiaoquan, who had earlier challenged Xue Jing, quietly realized that during their earlier contest, the young man had not even used a fraction of his true strength. Ignoring the attention, Xue Jing told everyone to evacuate immediately while the situation was still under control. He believed that the attack was not accidental. When Li Ge pointed out the injury on his chest, Xue Jing barely acknowledged it, remaining focused on the bigger situation. At that moment, the banquet host, a man named Ye Chenglin, approached him and asked what he meant. Xue Jing explained his reasoning. The sudden blackout had likely been caused by a deliberate electromagnetic pulse, and the monster had probably been released intentionally. In his opinion, the entire event had been planned as an assassination attempt against the people attending the banquet. The guests began leaving the hall with small lights to guide them through the darkness. As they departed, Xue Jing continued observing the host. He suspected that Ye Chenglin might know more about the situation than he was admitting. When the host later asked whether he knew what the creature really was, Xue Jing answered carefully. He claimed that he was only a hired bodyguard trying to keep people safe. Internally, however, he understood that he was being tested. The deeper he became involved in the events of this city, the more he realized that the hidden forces behind it were far more dangerous than he had expected.
With that, the story comes to an end. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe to Senpai Respawn